How's it going, everyone? So, before Elden Ring came out, I played a few new video games that launched on Game Pass, and one other small game I played after Elden Ring. So, I decided to make another Game Pass review episode while I have the time to talk about a few games that I played recently in the past couple of months. The first game I want to talk about is called Pupperazzi, kind of like paparazzi, only pupperazzi. It's a game about walking around, petting dogs, and taking photos of them. And that's pretty much it. It's an indie game. The graphics are very cartoony, mobile, kind of like low effort style, almost like shovelware. And basically, the whole game is you go around different, like four or five different locations and take pictures of dogs in various manners, like when they're in clothes or taking them by, you know, uh, a building or something specific. The game requests that you take photos of them in different fashions, different film lenses that you can upgrade, different film fillers. That's really all there is to it. The problem with Pupperazzi is very much that. It's so low on gameplay substance that, as much as I love dogs, and it is a very cute game and very innocent and very easy because you can't die, there's no enemies or anything, it gets repetitive way too fast, like in a matter of minutes. And I got to the credits in like 45 minutes. So it's also a very short game. You can, of course, spend another couple hours, getting achievements and stuff like that, but that's all there really is to it. And for a game that's otherwise $20, it's not worth it. If you have Game Pass and you love dogs, check it out. But there is also a few technical issues with it. It's actually really buggy for a game that has so little production value, so little gameplay substance, so little content to have bugs that range from achievements not tracking to really severe control issues is unacceptable. My final score for Paparazzi will probably be like a 5 out of 10. It has the appeal, but it wears itself out really fast, unfortunately. The second game I played is CrossfireX, which I'm not sure should even count as a Game Pass title considering the free to play portion is the multiplayer, and that's like most of the game. Later on, they did include one of the expansions, a campaign expansion, as free on Game Pass. It's otherwise 20 per campaign. And if the second campaign is anything like the first campaign, these are not worth the money. Let me start off by explaining to you guys the multiplayer. It is a first person shooter, online first person shooter, with some of the most outdated, dull, clunky shooting mechanics I have ever played. It's bad. Like, if this game had come out 20 years ago, maybe it would be acceptable. It kind of has like an old Counter-Strike feel to it. There's no sprint, or half the time you can't even like aim down the sight. It's very old feeling, and it's just not fun at all. The good thing about it though is that it has really easy achievements. You can get all 1000 gamer score just by like winning 50 matches or something and getting like 100 headshots, and that's it. You get like 1000 gamer score. So it's got easy achievements. That's a plus. There was one mode I remember where you play like Infection or something, and it makes absolutely no sense. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that the map is broken. Like there's like a little like hiding spot where you can prevent aliens or whatever from like infiltrating that spot, and you can just like hunker down, and you win like basically automatically, like by default. It's so poorly made. The maps are so awful. The gameplay is awful. The graphics suck. It's just a really dull, very forgettable experience. Like you're not gonna want to play this for like more than half an hour. So thank God that it's free. The campaign, on the other hand, is a fucking travesty. And it's apparently made by Remedy, the same people who made. I mean, these guys make good games. These guys made Alan Wake, Quantum Break, and Control. They make good single player games, and the CrossfireX campaign, or at least the Operation Catalyst one, is fucking garbage. I don't even remember the story. I played this like 2 weeks ago, maybe not even, and I don't even remember what the story was really about. It had a traitor, someone who turned on you. And that's all I can remember. That's not okay. And the enemy AI was fucking terrible. And they basically used the same control scheme and the same engine as the free to play multiplayer. And that was a big mistake because the campaign is just as painful as the multiplayer because the gameplay is pretty much the same. That was CrossfireX, and it is not a good game. I would say it's probably the worst game I've played so far this year, even though that's not really saying much because I haven't really played a lot of games. I mean, we're only like a quarter of the way through the year, so not really saying much if CrossfireX is the worst game of 2022. I hear that Babylon's Fall is like probably even worse, but that's not on Game Pass, and I'm not sure if I ever want to pay money for that, so um, yeah. Crossfire X for me would probably get like a 4. I'm only rating it as high as a 4 only because it has easy gamer score. Like, all you have to do is play the Team Deathmatch cargo ship level, and like you can get wins and headshots like nobody's business. So, yeah, a very, very easy farmable achievements. You can pretty much play any other shooter and have a better experience, a better time with it. It is one of the worst first-person shooters you can find and play on Xbox. Now we're gonna get more into good game territory, starting with Nobody Saves the World. This is a kind of like an old school Zelda clone where, it has like an overworld and you can explore various dungeons and level up. What's interesting about this game is that you have different personas who have different superpowers, and you can switch them off and fight different enemies and affect their status elements with whatever power you have that can inflict whatever their weaknesses are, like lightning or holy damage or whatever. And what's really amazing about Nobody Saves the World is that you can actually combine different superpowers into like one superhero persona that will like fit your playstyle. Say you want to play as like a guard or a bodybuilder or whoever, someone who has like base strength, but you can also include other elemental abilities from other. They call it costumes, but they're more like personas to me. But costumes, like you want the rat gnaw to inflict poison damage, you can put that in your bodybuilder, or you want a projectile like an archer's arrow shooting, you can put that in your guard, so that you can have both melee and ranged attacks at the same time without needing to swap. It does get a little repetitive progression wise because in order to level up, you mostly have to basically farm kills doing specific things with a combination of those costumes. It also has a couple bugs here and there. I remember getting stuck in like my first major dungeon and I couldn't load my game or anything. I had to exit out because you can't save when you're in the middle of exploring a dungeon. So I had to quit the game, start over, start the whole dungeon over, and then beat it again, which was really annoying. But it only happened the one time. Nobody Saves the World is a funny game. It has a story that doesn't really take itself too seriously. It's kind of your typical, hero saves the world from a plague or whatever, the person causing the plague. It's a typical hero story, you know. I said the same for Elden Ring, but I mean, if it's presented well enough, it's fine. It's done here with humor. So yeah, Nobody Saves the World is a really good, kind of like indie Zelda clone with some unique cross abilities. I would rate that like an 8 out of 10. That's one of the best games I've played this year. And lastly, a Memoir Blue. Typically, when it comes to these games, these really short interactive adventure games usually don't appeal to me because they're not usually made in a way that works for the story that it's trying to portray or depict. Sorry. A Memoir Blue is a woman reflecting her childhood memories with her mother, going through different memories. A lot of it is like set in an underwater environment. And gameplay wise, it is basically like a an interactive puzzle game, I guess we would call it. Very easy puzzles, not too out of the ordinary, like not too infuriating. It's actually a pretty relaxing game and can be very emotional in certain parts. The thing that sucks about a Memoir Blue is it's only like an hour long. And granted, that game's only like $8. And, if you replay the chapters and get all the achievements and stuff, it'll take you about 2 hours. And that's another game that has really, really easy, 1000 gamer score right there, is a Memoir Blue. With a guide anyway, it could be pretty vague trying to figure out all the puzzles by yourself and all the achievements by yourself. Yeah, there's not much to say about a Memoir Blue. It's a really touching adventure story, narrative driven game. It doesn't even have any spoken dialogue, but at the same time, it like illustrates the story through photos, and it does it like pretty much perfectly. Like you get the sense of what happened and what it's all about, what happened at the end and stuff through just playing the game. And that's great. I would give a Memoir Blue about an 8 out of 10. Really, really good game, even if it's a bit short and a little ambiguous, but not too ambiguous. I think my Game Pass runs out on April 7th, so I still have a few more days to play whatever I want, but I could play Infernax or Weird West, but I feel like those games would take a while, and I wouldn't want to stop midway just because my Game Pass ended. And I'm gonna want to save my points until Sniper Elite 5, which comes out May 25th, so I probably won't have any more Game Pass reviews until then. So those two games are gonna have to wait. Maybe I'll include those in with my Sniper Elite 5 review and make another Game Pass review episode in June. Oh, I tried getting into that Tunic game. It's another kind of Zelda clone, only it's more isometric, not so much top down, and I couldn't get into it. Not only because it was either so hard or so easy, because the game gives you two difficulties. It gives you almost impossible to beat because the game is so fucking hard, or you can access the invincibility cheat to make it too easy, to make it impossible not to die. So that's not good for me. There's no balance of difficulty in that game, and plus you have to find manuals in order to like figure out what things do. Otherwise, they stay gibberish in the item description, and that's not okay with me. I couldn't get into Tunic at all. It got good reviews, and I'm not sure why. So that's my half thoughts on Tunic. I think I probably made it a little bit more than halfway through, but I couldn't really get into it, man. When it wasn't frustrating, it was boring. That's never okay with me. That's like The Last Guardian. My problem with The Last Guardian. um, anyway, I've taken up enough of your time. I'm going to wrap this video up. Might have like another mini review or something coming up at the end of the month. So stay tuned, and until then, thank you for watching.
The Gamer Gods!